Okay. Uh, Kitties might make some noise in the background. Just try to ignore it. I have a journal that's from the 17th, which is just yesterday. And the Mayan day was 11 Crocodile. That's pretty powerful. The 11 is toward the end of the Tracina, so you're pulling things together. Crocodile is the very first of the sun signs, and so it has that number 1 energy. All right. It begins to feel a bit like the dark night of the soul here. Just as I reported a recent night when I was so caught up into the divine joy that I lay in that all night, not sleeping. Last night was a dark reflection. It seemed my heart cried out all night for divine succor and aid, literally, not figuratively. It was a dark night anyway, even if not a part of that particular experience or initiation called the dark night of the soul that sometimes comes on those in the spiritual path. Now, here's the strange part. For the huge part of the night, I got no relief. There was no answer, no aid or comfort forthcoming. Now, I've got to tell you that this really is unusual for me. Spirit and the light, I've been so one with these that I'm never out of their presence. At least that's how it feels. So to go from that to this desert-like experience is a bit, well, it's almost traumatic. The contrast is so great. Now, I don't call the intensity of calling on spirit for aid being with it, sitting with the energy. That's actively fighting where I am, I've got to admit. In my last journal, I shared how I was not completely accurate in guiding people to just be with whatever they're feeling. As I was watching myself in the midst of this, I realized I was definitely going to the NDE videos for aid and for support to help lift me up. So, folks, it looks like I and we may be in the midst of yet again more change. What I'm understanding about things is changing anyway. I'm not on the other side of this, whatever it is, so I can't really say at this point. All I can do is report what it's like to be where I am. What it's like is difficult, very difficult. It's my hope that other souls not completely anchored in heart and light wouldn't have to go through this. It's that tough that I wouldn't wish it on anyone, really. It's interesting that it's maybe the first time I get to walk by faith on my recent path. I haven't needed faith because in the presence of actual experience and real knowledge, there's no place for it, since faith is believing in things not present. Well, now I'm walking by faith, I guess. I don't know. Wait, there seems to be a quiet knowing in the background, way back. It's not really clear or present and accessible, but it's there. I sense it. It's telling me I'm fine. Now, that's the first ray of comfort, aside from one little response to my night's praying early this morning. These things seem distant, though. Still, by the vibration, the heart tells me they are real. Talk about strange. This is it. I truly don't know what's going on. I did a mental run-through just to see if there was anything I'd said or done differently, different things I was taking or wearing, something that could have brought on such a change. Not finding anything, I dropped it. One needs to be very cautious about using the mind at all during difficult times. What do I mean by that? Mind is a wonderful servant and a terrible master. It's good to set mind to examine something. Nothing wrong with that. The thing is, though, mind will do that and then reach a point where it's accomplished all that it can. And that's what I find I have to be alert to, because to keep using mind beyond that point is to clearly work against the self. It's not thought anymore. Beyond that point, you're hamster wheeling it. That's actually abuse of the mind to set it to a task that it's already completed. What's it supposed to do? Invent something? Well, it will. And that's often what happens when mind is set on a fool's errand that way. Mind is a valuable tool and one that must be respected and used properly. Just because you're using your mind doesn't mean you're thinking. Thinking, just to be clear, is to set mind to an issue or problem and have it go through its paces, pulling in all the info and details. It will run through those with a definite end in mind, seeking a solution or resolution to the issue. And that's thinking. It's accomplishing something. However, at the point where it's gone over everything, its job is complete. It won't necessarily be able to produce an answer. That doesn't matter. It's done all it can. And we all know when this is. To continue using the mind on the problem beyond this point is not thought, nor proper use of the brain. This is where the emotions have entered in, generally, for the mind well knows that it has finished its task. What it doesn't know now, it won't know later after more hours of mind activity. If it had an answer for you, it would have offered it up before. So let us look to our emotions and deeper seated issues if we spend our time hamster wheeling mind, which is to say, using it pointlessly. That's to be observed. So, in the midst of a trial like this one that I'm having, one can surely tell when using the mind versus when being in heart. There is no thought going on here beyond what was done to examine the situation. And perhaps this is what I mean by being with it. One stays out of thought, simply knowing that beyond a certain point, thought is useless, the wrong tool for the job. It leads nowhere instead of just being now here. So, what now? I simply be where I am. There's nothing else to be done. It's surely difficult, and it would be great to have some understanding about what's going on here, but I don't. That's just how it is, and I'm okay with that, and for a very good reason. I know that whatever knowledge or understanding I need at any point, I have. Stay in heart. You'd be surprised how much rest there is in that. It cuts a whole lot of hamster wheeling out of your life. It can also be seen as a knowing that I have enough and being content with that. As divine beings, we lack for nothing. We contain the all. What's missing? Whatever it is, we have it within. Now I'm feeling like a quiet humming in the general pelvic area, deep inside there. It's almost like there's a little power station with current running gently through it, making the hum. It's just a little one, may have nothing to do with anything. One gets very alert when going through a time like this, noticing simply everything. For of course the vision is trained within, not on the outside. Answers aren't out there. Now I'm beginning to feel just the barest bit of reconnection in heart. But it's not in heart exactly. It's like heart is a bit higher up somehow. And it's not the fullness of the connection that I'm used to either. Not so robust, but it's something. And at this point, I'll take anything. Okay, so mind jumps in, looks at the new detail, and offers a possibility. Since it's a new detail, I'll allow it. So I listen. Mind says that maybe, just maybe, you're being disconnected from an old way of working in preparation for the new way that comes. Well, that sounds nice, mind. I suppose it could be. But do go take another rest now, since the only way to know such a thing is to watch and observe. And you're not needed for that. Here's another journal, then, that can't be tied up with a pretty bow and an uplifting conclusion or solution. It just is what it is. Cuddles, lighten up. Excuse me. Gotta go. My Cuddles kitty is like an immature little kid. He gets the bit between his teeth, and if he's feeling nasty, he just acts nasty, and it's hard for him to break out of that. Okay, so where was I? All right, so yeah, it's another journal that's not pretty and sweet and smiley and happy. It just is what it is. As I said, I wouldn't wish the challenge of this on anyone. It's really tough when you're used to swimming in light, to being submerged in the comfort of heart, to be suddenly high and dry, as if cut off. Now, I know I'm not cut off, of course, but like I said, I'm having to go more on faith than I have in quite a long time. Here's the beauty in that, though. When you've had such powerful contact and immersion in light, you simply know certain things. They're not in doubt. Thus, so much of what could make this terribly difficult is stripped away from me. In a way, maybe it's not really even faith, since I have direct experience of what seems to be missing now. But that's kind of playing with mind there when we're going into the past. I don't know. Okay, now, let's just pretend it is a dark night of the soul experience, where you're stripped away from the light and somehow made to walk in a dark desert for a time. Even if that were the case, it is far easier for me. Not only do I have direct experience, as anyone in heart does, but I am also alert to proper use of the mind. Most people create their own hell, their own suffering, by misunderstanding how to use their own mind. They don't stop when thought is finished with the problem or the issue. And it's by keeping on like that that they create much suffering for themselves that's simply unnecessary. It's a real joy to simply know when and how to turn the mind off, or really to turn away from it. You don't turn it off. Returning to heart and just being in place of thinking, which is going nowhere. Hamster wheeling. What a strange place to be in. Now there's a connection that I feel returning to heart again. Heart in the place I'm used to feeling that. Well, I guess that's one point in favor of mind's last offering about a possible reconnection. That would also pull in the power station feeling below, gentle though it is. It really gets down to what am I and who am I, doesn't it? The variableness in consciousness. I'm glad I'm not that. It's a variableness of experience, nothing more. What I am, in truth, is so far above and beyond all of this stuff that it's amazing. There is no varying or wavering in that, capital T, either. It is solid and sure. Some teachers have called it rock-like. Nisargadatta was one. It just watches all of this here below, so to speak. What an interesting play we've got going on here. Who am I indeed? And at what level am I viewing? Ah! Oh, I just felt, believe it or not, joy return to the belly. Now, Sita or Teresa here almost objected to that word return and didn't want to write it, as she's not familiar with joy in the belly. But there you have it. Spirit writes it as joy returning to the belly. What a strange feeling. And it feels like it's about a foot out in front of the belly too, not directly in it. Endlessly strange. Okay, not to bore you with what's going on here, I'll call it a halt and call it a journal, one of the oddest yet. As time compresses, they seem to get stranger and stranger. Oh well, it's a powerful ride, and I, for one, am bound and determined to enjoy it. And I hope you are too.